We're broken, Danny Brams. Welcome into the Charlotte Soccer Show.
We are broken, Johnny. Charlotte FC is broken. Yeah, what a way to start the show with a moment of technical, well, more than a moment of technical difficulties that pretty much summed up. There were technical difficulties in the stadium, and there were many technical difficulties on the pitch for Charlotte FC on Saturday. How you doing, Johnny?
I'm doing good. It's Sunday evening here in the QC. We're hanging out on YouTube at Charlotte Soccer Show. You can follow us here. Make sure you subscribe. And Danny Brams, it looks like you've got a nice bottle of vino again this evening.
This is the same bottle that I've been drinking from for the last couple of weeks. I don't know. Pure wine connoisseurs would probably laugh at me and probably actually be disgusted by what I've done here.
I gotta be honest, I kind of feel that way.
Yeah, well, hey, I don't care. It tastes fine to me, and I'm not much. I drink a lot of I drink beers when we record our shows. I drink a lot of the games, but other than that, I'm not really a heavy drinker in life. So it's like I kind of get it all in at those social occasions, and I'm a slow drinker, so I haven't had a chance. I haven't had an occasion to finish this bottle. I'm going to try to finish the bottle here. I got about 3 fingers worth by the end of this episode. Maybe I'll pop another one. Who knows?
What happened yesterday after the match? I couldn't make it. I had a wedding. Congratulations to Chad and Amanda Polivoy tying the knot on Saturday night.
Two beautiful people
in Plaza. It was a great wedding in Plaza. So I was there yesterday, and you were. Tell me about your post-match celebrations. And by celebrations, I mean St. Patrick's Day weekend.
Right. Charlotte. You're like, how could you celebrate it? The worst game that Charlotte FC has ever played. Well, I'd have to say that the timing was everything. I'm walking out of the stadium with a group of folks, NC Tiger Girl, and the Volaks really, and Hannah, my wingman, who comes to a lot of the games with me, and Volak, and I'm like about to go this way, right? I'm like take a right turn to go to your car. And Volak goes, "Hey man, St. Patty's Day bar crawl. We're going to Graham Street Pub. Just come out for one. Just come get a shot and then take off." I'm like, "Sure, yeah." Because I had driven. Everyone understood. Like I had driven from Nashville, Tennessee, where I was working last week. Left at Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern. Got home at like 2 a.m. Eastern, which that's pretty decent. Let's call it 1:45 and give myself even a little more credit for making good time. And so I was exhausted. I got up at 8 a.m. I felt like a zombie. I hustled my ass down to the fortress. Got in pretty good way. I actually was like really proud of myself for rallying.
You were there early, like 10 a.m. Did you get to the building?
Yeah, I got there right at 10 a.m. Which, again, a story within a story.
You could watch the matches, right? The Premier League games in there.
No, I was hoping to watch some Premier League before I walked in and found a seat in the supporter section. Instead, they were playing NBA highlight shows. They were playing World Baseball Classic, and they were playing pre-recorded, not live cheerleading competitions on the screen. So, let's step that up. Let's actually realize, hey, we got a bar full of soccer fans here and some giant screens, and there's Premier League games on. Maybe we should actually let the fans watch the Premier League. I don't know. It goes to the whole mentality of the total club experience. Like it's not enough just to sign 30 players and hire a coach and pick 11 guys to go out on the pitch and go kick the ball around. This is a club. Let's make it a club. Let's up our level of the game day, match day experience, please. Pay attention to what's going on inside the stadium, please, Charlotte FC, I got to say. But complaints about the lack of Premier League soccer aside, the game was horrible. I take right turn to go to my car, and Volak goes, "Come out for one." And I'm exhausted. He knew I was exhausted. But they dragged me off to Graham Street Pub. I had a shot of Jaeger, had a green beer. I go up and had an IPA, and then all of a sudden we're on the bar crawl, So there it goes. We went to 4 or 5 different places, tequila shots. It was crazy. I gave away my hat. There was actually a really nice hat giveaway at the stadium, and it was a really cool hat. It was white with all these little crowns on it and a blue bill. And I actually wore 2 hats the whole game. I wore a hat to the game, so I'm wearing my Charlotte FC black hat, and then I wear the fresh hat on top. Walked around looking like an idiot for 3 hours with double hats on, and then I just gave my hat away at the bar because I was just so wasted. I was just yeah, I totally forgot. So that was kind of funny. And then so then I finally pulled away from. I left and they were still going. I finally stumbled on my way out to the corner and called an Uber. and they're like still going strong in the yeah, I did not get back to my car till many hours later, unfortunately. But
it's a good way to spend a Saturday. You
yeah,
know,
Charlotte Bar Crawl, man. What can be better? St. Patty's
uptown, and let's forget about what you saw at noon. We said on Thursday's show, we asked the question, does the noon kick, is it shit? And it turned out to be, maybe a blessing in disguise, where you got to walk out of there around 2:30 and go have a nice afternoon and forget about your troubles.
Right? I really did. Had a great day.
Did that match even happen?
Sadly, it did. It's sad. Like I said, I don't know if Charlotte was really ready for it. It's lame to like be the one that's caught by surprise on the early kick in your own home stadium. Atlanta came out and was just like ready to go from minute one.
Well, I've got a big topic to kick us off tonight, and it is Christian Lattanzio, and it's Bronico at the left back. It's Enzo Cappetti, and it's a air of frustration on the pitch at all times. What does Latanzio think about that? We're going to hear from him. I think that'll be really interesting to talk about, Danny. There's I guess, negative energy surrounding Andre Shinyashiki right now. Camille Uzviak. What about the Camille Uzviak stands out there? I mean, like
they're out there. They're out there in full force.
I don't understand why people just latch on to one player and like defend them to like their death. It makes no sense to me. Like it's a team sport. This isn't about like individuals. Let's find the right formation.
I appreciate you being, if that's the case, then I appreciate you being gracious with me last year when I admittedly did that for the Blue Hornet, Alan Franco. I was like all about that guy. I wanted him to just like be my favorite player. But I think like the experience with him kind of put me in the same mindset that you're describing now, which is like you can't just like get obsessed with one player because it doesn't work. And my obsession with Franco last year was certainly a stain on my record as a Charlotte FC podcaster, but it was authentic at the time. What can I say? So,
I mean, considering he played that poorly and got shipped out so quickly, I mean, you can't get more authentic than that, unless you were doing a bit, which
could not have been more wrong for sure. But
I don't think,
the Uzviak stands are out. That's no doubt. The social media battles are raging as we record this, and they have been since the game was over for sure. So
I heard some whistles. I heard some boos at halftime and post match as well. And
first time ever that I was booing. You probably heard me because I was booing. I at a certain point, Camille just brought it out of me, and I just lustily booed from the supporter section. I don't know if that doesn't makes me not a true fan. I'm not sure, but
it's because of moments like this.
Still work to do. Still time for Charlotte to try to get something back before halftime. Might be open now for Atlanta United. Almada skips around Bronico. Araujo. Back to Almada. Leaves it for Wiley.
That was easy.
Oof, that was easy. That was right at the end of the first half, by the way. That was like the ref was about to blow his whistle, and he's like, oh, let's see what Almada does with this ball. And then it turned into a third goal. Horrible. Yeah, that was a horrible moment. There was some boos. I was actually already in the supporters bar at that time. I saw that goal happen from inside on the video board. So yeah, probably people were booing out there. There was a later moment, like in the 70th minute, when Camille just kind of like was trying to like beat a couple defenders by like kicking the ball to the byline and then out racing them and getting the cross, but he kicked it too far with no touch. He basically passed the ball directly out of bounds to short circuit an attack, and we were broken. Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
and people, I was like, it just came out of me, man. I booed. I booed my own team. I had to do it. And many other people availed themselves of the opportunity for sure. It was rough to see. It was the worst game Charlotte FC's ever played. Let's be honest. It was worse than the LAFC game, because LAFC, when they beat us 5-0 last year, like at their place, yeah, we were completely horrible, but like that's the eventual champions, and they was at their place. This was at our place against our rival in a game where we were supposedly playing, for the spirit of our fallen brother. Like Anton, there was so much ceremony surrounding Anton Walks. Is that really firing up the players anymore, or is that actually kind of like holding them back? I'm not sure, but like you'd think we had every reason to go out there and win, and we just played like one of the shit performances of all time, basically.
It's a bad performance. It's a lot of emotion. Anton Walks certainly is on players and coaches and fans' mind before every match right now, because it's a loss that is somewhat unfathomable, right? Where it's like you go down into training camp and you come back without one of your players. We talked about it on this show, and it's a horrible situation. And
the efforts to honor him are great. Obviously,
it should spur this team on, right? It should motivate them, but at the same time, sometimes people need time, right?
Mm-hmm.
That didn't happen a long time ago, and that's
right.
why I think
these guys are humans, and this was like
time can eventually heal those kind of wounds, and I believe that, and I live by that phrase. I think most times where a negative event happens in my life or anybody's life, really, I encouraged to take time. And this is only 3 games, right? So it's early in the season, and it feels like the bottom's falling out, and maybe it is, and maybe this team needs to sack the manager and come in with a new idea and start different players. Only if like the young players don't get on the pitch. There has to be some trust in guys like Jalen Lindsay, guys like Ben Bender, and young players with the club.
Was it last episode or was it the one before? I think it was actually last week's recap episode last Sunday. And I don't think I repeated myself on the Thursday show, but I did say at one point, yes, Charlotte will beat Atlanta. I guarantee Charlotte wins against Atlanta FC if Jalen Lindsay starts. He didn't start, and we didn't have a chance. So he might not have made all the difference there, but I just like he certainly deserves more of a look. You did some really good research in the aftermath of the game. Well, I was out taking Jaeger shots and popping tequila shots and eating some really, really good pizza at Basante's. You were doing the research and a little bit of a dive. You went back and like screenshotted our starting 11 from the home match against Atlanta in 2022 that we won 1-0. Alcivar's Olympico, Guzan blames the wind. One of the banner days, one of the early like great days in Charlotte FC history back then, back in the first couple months of that season. And you saw it was a completely different situation. It was obviously a different coach, but Lindsay was in. Bronico was holding down at the 6 on his own. It wasn't the double pivot. And it was and then it was a strike partnership. It was Karol Swiderski playing second striker up there with Danny Rios. And yeah, there it is on the screen right now. And like you said, man, like Karol Swiderski is not working on the left wing. Anyone can see it. One thing Taylor Twellman said right before Atlanta scored their 3rd goal, as I was doing the rewatch this morning, he was like, Taylor said, I would be shocked if Charlotte comes out in the second half and has not moved Swiderski into a second striker role with Copetti. And I guess he was shocked because that didn't happen. And this is like as sad as it is, even with Franco and Alcivar, who've been kicked out of the team, and Ben Bender, who is in the witness protection program right now. Even like, imagine if that midfield right there is like Santos, Shinyashiki, and Vargas or something like that, in this formation, I think we'd be looking a lot better situation personally.
And it starts at the back. And maybe that's been the Achilles heel for this squad so far, because they're giving up easy goals. They're letting teams walk right through. And when you look at that back line, you see a steadiness there with Brandt in that CDM role where he can try to step on passes, where he can try to get in between passing lines and really muck up the game in that area. And he has cover. At that left back, you have to be a lot less aggressive on defense and
more discipline in your positioning.
Right. And Brandt doesn't have the experience to do that. So Christian Lattanzio is in my opinion, putting him out of position. And it's somebody that, could benefit from a change of position. That's one guy. But the second thing, Danny, I wanted to get into with you this evening is about the prince that was promised, right? It's about Enzo Cappetti. And like, I think the soundbite that Christian Lattanzio gave after the match was worth playing on the show. So let's listen to it and talk about it.
That's what happened is that he needs to understand better the league. I told him that I'm not happy with certain way. I'm not condone him going to the ref all the time. And if he goes to the ref and complain, okay, but then during the play, while he's still focus on that. Otherwise, it becomes, and this is not a behavior that I want. So our leaders, our DPs, and our leaders, the more experienced, they have to show with behavior, not at words, what the team has to do. If they want to be leaders, they have to lead in the right way. I'm not going to prepare to condone any behaviors that doesn't help the team to win games. And I don't think that some of the behaviors maybe can work in other countries, but not here. And I don't want that in the team. So for him we will talk more, because I think he has got qualities that I really like, that I want in the team, but I also want a different body language when he's on the pitch.
That clip was, whoa, take it down. Oh, man.
Excuse me, sorry. As I kept listening to that, I was just like, oh my God, I got to chug this thing. Wow, what a quote. What a stealth bomb drop that really is from the gaffer in the post-game press conference, to be honest.
Exactly. I heard that, and I was intrigued by his statement of the obvious, right? And it felt refreshing to hear him say something like that.
So let me ask you this, though. Because I do not disagree with what Latanzio said there. I don't quite think he needed to get in the end of the quote where he says, well, maybe that works in other countries, but that doesn't work here. Don't like that part as much. But I do like what he's saying early on in that soundbite, which is you need to say it with your actions and not your words, and your body language needs to be better. Enzo's body language has been horrible. He is taking some time to adjust to Major League Soccer. I think that's more of there's nothing that has to do inherent with, the country aspect of it, like he was hinting at, in my personal opinion. But there is a difference in leagues. The MLS is not the Argentinian league, obviously. That's just like the refereeing is different, and there's different sort of standards of what constitutes a foul and things like that. Just they're sort of blatantly agreed upon. But the thing I will say, though, is Enzo cost us, man. Like, Enzo 2 times, notably in the first half, rolled around with fake injuries. We can go on a rant about soccer, fake injuries or whatever, but like the guy is just really quick to like try to get stuff from the referee. Like so far in his first 3 games that we've seen, he's always trying to get something from the referee. Referees have been slow to give it to him. And I think like there was 2 notable incidents in the first half that caused there to be 6 minutes of stoppage time. Now, most of the stoppage, 6 minutes is a lot of stoppage time for a first half in MLS. Most of that came from the penalty kick review and there was an injury to an Atlanta player earlier. So most of the time was that. But I think it was 6 minutes instead of 5. I think it's only 5 minutes injury time if Enzo would have just played on in a couple spots when he was like complaining and trying to get like after the fact fouls. And so it's that 6th minute of stoppage time when Atlanta added their 3rd goal. So it's a butterfly effect that I think Enzo did cost us the 3rd goal in a way in that regard. Now, what I will say also, and I want to throw this back to you, whether or not Latanzio was correct is the press conference and saying that to the press. Is Latanzio an accomplished enough manager to sort of be the type of like Phil Jackson or Nick Saban type that speaks to his players through the media? And should that have been more of a private conversation? Was Latanzio a little bit too heated by the time he stepped into the presser, which I heard was like an hour. Like there was an hour-long delay between the final whistle and the press conference beginning, but he still seemed pretty pissed.
It's a great question. It has me thinking about when he got appointed as manager for the club. I think a lot of the compliments players gave about him is that they knew where they stood with him, right? That he was willing to be honest about where they stood in the squad and what their role was going to be. And they respected that. MAR was not that, right? MAR, what would he do after the match? He would go into his lab, shut the door, and not talk to anybody.
Yeah.
Right. And the players didn't know where they stood.
Yeah.
And they clearly hated that. And Latanzio is the opposite. So I think maybe what he heard him say there, the players already heard him say in the locker room. So it's not like anything new that they're hearing. Sure. So to me, that would be strange if there was a message in the press that he didn't give to them in the locker room. Agreed. Based on, you say, that hour delay before he spoke, you know what was going on there? A lot of ass chewing for sure. Yeah. You mentioned Saban. You know, there's a lot. I bet you there was a lot of ass chewing
Yeah, exactly. Great
in that locker
room. Crossover term there. Yeah, I hope so. Because you'd hate to think if that's the case, and it's like, hey, I've told this guy to his face privately in the locker room 2 or 3 times he's not getting it. I guess I have to go tell the world and tell the public in front of a microphone to like be like, hey, bro, I mean it. Like, you need to stop doing this. Like, Enzo's got to stop doing it. I do think it was interesting. We saw some commentary. There was a post that Twitter where we got that Twitter video. The person who posted it was kind of posting it from a kind of a like, this is kind of messed up point of view. They weren't happy with Latanzio's comments. And then one of the replies was like, yeah, I noticed he never did that about Swiderski, last year when Swiderski was having body language issues early in the season. I think most of Swiderski's body language issues were in the MAR area, probably not Latanzio, but it is just interesting.
It was similar. It is similar, though. That you say something.
Yeah. And I would hate – we can't afford to just, like, lose Enzo this quickly. So hopefully Enzo has more mental toughness than your average Bear, because he in this spot where the manager's calling you out to the press, like, obviously you can either, like, go into a shell and be like, F that guy, forget that. I'm not even going to try to play for this loser anymore. You can be like that, or you can be like, wow, he made a good point. I need to step it up. I need to change my ways. I need to self-examine a little bit. And as a new father, I can tell you, your priorities change and your attitude needs to shift a little bit. So good that maybe that'll help. Maybe he's growing, and he's a young guy, so he's impetuous and he wants what he wants. He is getting beat up. I will say he's getting beat up. There were a couple times where he's clipped, but it's just like, you got to learn to just get up and play on, and then you have to sort of earn the refs' respect, I feel, a little bit more before you get, like, once they know that, like, you can get, like, so you got to establish a baseline of being like, okay, I'm a guy that always gets up and plays on and like goes and doesn't fake an injury, because then when you are down and rolling around later and the ref knows you has built in his mind that you're not a faker, then it's like, oh shoot, this guy's down, I better just, like, that says more of an impact. It's a boy who cried wolf effect, obviously. And so I don't know. He needs to be banging in more goals. He's not the main problem. We mentioned Bronico off the top in terms of, that's the other big Latanzio issue. Trying to against St. Louis, Bronny at left back didn't kill us. Against Atlanta, it absolutely destroyed us. It is the Brant, one of my favorite players on the team, hopelessly lost and out of position at left back, not knowing what to do. And he's literally at fault on all 3 goals. And other guys are too. It's not like he bears all the fault, but he's at fault on all 3 goals that we surrendered, and Burn as well. So it's like we're out there playing 9 versus 11 almost with no fullbacks. We have nothing from the fullbacks. And this whole Latanzio tactic of like, I like my inverted fullbacks. I like my fullbacks to cut in. It's not working, man. And it's like, you got to change your system to match your personnel, not the other way around. You don't, like, force players to fit into a system.
I've got good news to spin things forward, Danny. Thinking about Orlando on Saturday and the watch party that we're going to have at Elizabeth Parlor Room. I'm thinking about that, and thinking about the fact that Orlando has to play a midweek match beforehand, right? So this is one of those times
against a very tough opponent.
Exactly, at home, and
it's a second leg. So I think it was 0-0 in the first leg. So it's all to play for them. They're going to have to go hard.
So the CCL is going to impact the match this week, which is, I think, what I want to do. I want to spin this forward, because remember, once you get 3 points, you can maybe get on a roll. I know it's really difficult to go in there to Orlando, Danny, and get the 3 points, but it's a team that's unbeaten. It's a team that hasn't lost yet this year. So, and we're
bottom of the table with Montreal, who yes. I called out as before the season. I was like, oh, Montreal will be the worst team in the East, easy. And then now we're sitting there. Our name is next to theirs in the standings.
Saturday night is going to be for the real ones, right? Because we're going to the Independence opening match at 5 o'clock at Memorial Stadium, and then
it's a doubleheader.
Headed to Elizabeth Parlor Room for the 7:30 kick for Charlotte FC at Orlando. I think it's going to be a great day for soccer in the city of Charlotte. So if you're looking for a match this weekend, and maybe you can get a better product on the pitch, right? You want to go see some players score some goals and get a W.
Yeah, this is now a Charlotte Independence podcast as of Saturday at 5 p.m. or as of who knows?
Oh, it'll be fun. You know who they're playing? They're playing Richmond Kickers.
Yeah,
who Charlotte FC played and beat last year in the U.S. Open Cup.
Right.
So the Independents are going to get a shot at them on Saturday night to kick off the season. So it'll be fun to watch them play. I think it's a difficult match to start the season for the Independents.
Keep your eyes peeled to this space. Nothing guaranteed, but we may have a very special guest join us on our Thursday episode, previewing both aspects of that Charlotte is a Soccer City doubleheader going on Saturday. Can't wait. That's a little tease for the people in the biz.
That's exactly what it's called. Inside the ropes here on Charlotte Soccer Show. And I'm thinking about the rest of the show, what you want to talk about. I think there's a couple traditions that the club, they're trying to, I wanted to say impose. That's the wrong phrase for it. But is Volare working at the end of the matches, Danny? Like, you combine that with the booze, and I just want to talk about the current culture at the club. I think there's a lot of criticism. There's a lot of negativity around at the club right now. And and it's like the blame game is happening. I saw the negativity surrounding Andre Shinyashiki.
Yeah.
This week too.
Falsely accused Shinyashiki big time.
You know, I think there was definitely a moment in the match where you called out he was a big time playmaker, and in that first half, even though it was a 3-0 loss in the first half, that was Charlotte FC had chances in that first half. Danny Brams and Shinyashiki was in the middle. He
created one of the very biggest ones. Yeah, Shinyashiki and Westwood created one of the biggest ones. And what I want to say to the haters out there and the people that are out there saying like, oh, you know, a lot of times this works both ways. So I think we have a two-part discussion coming up, which is, and we don't have to get into the actual like who should play until our next preview episode, but like there's all this consternation and speculation over like who's to blame. Is Shinyashiki not working? Is Yusviak not working? And the Yusviak stands are coming out with stats that back Camille, and the Andre haters are coming out with stats that shine a negative light on Andre. But a lot of times your stats in a soccer game, when it comes to duels lost and possessions and all that stuff, it's really going to come down to the tactics that you're being asked to play. First off, Shinya's miscast as a central player anyway. I thought he was really great on the wing in the MAR era and scored a ton of goals, created a lot of goals, and like I think our third leading scorer last year. And now, but Latanzio is just like convinced in his mind that Andre is a central player. So he's got him playing in the central role. And outside or inside, the reason I want to say that Shinyashiki has been starting is because he is our very best pressing attacker that we have on the whole squad. There's multiple examples that I saw. He stole the ball right back off of a throw-in in the, let me check the minute on this because I want to just say with precision, and he possessed the ball and like moved it down the left sideline, then got it to Camille, then cut in. It
was the 14th minute.
Yeah, and then thank you. And then Camille sent a pass. Camille sent a really nice pass to Westwood, and then Westwood backheeled it back to Andre, who continued the run, sort of this whole like this half moon like arcing run from like midfield to sideline to into the box. And then Andre, he did, you know, fully admitting he held up the play a little too long. He didn't do that final ball to like move it on to Copetti or Swiderski, who were kind of both open in the box in different spots. And he busted up the attack at the end, but he created the whole attack with doing three things, which was stealing the ball off the throw-in, possessing it and advancing it through a double team, which Camille can't. I haven't seen Camille beat too many double teams. Camille likes to dribble into double teams, then give the ball away. But Shinyashiki holds the ball through a double team, makes the right pass, continues the run, reads the back heel of Westwood to like get into this right position. And yes, he didn't finish it, but like he makes plays that no one else can. Later in like I think in the 44th minute or something like that, if you want to look it up, I'll look up the exact time. But like there was another play where Atlanta had the ball at midfield and single-handedly, like just by like displaying pressure, Shinyashiki, this was like right towards the end of the half, right before Atlanta scored, unfortunately, Shinya was like pressing forward and like but with single-handedly push them all the way back from midfield, all the way back to their own byline, just by pressing. So Shinyashiki started for a very good reason, and has nothing to do with stats. It has to do with the fact that he's the very best aggressive, possessing midfielder that we have on the squad. And you know, Cappetti does a good job of it too, but those are the two guys who are the best, I think. And like, and that's the reason is because Latanzio wants pressure on the other team when they're trying to advance it out of the back. He's trying to steal it back and turn them over. And Shinya's the best at that. If you don't like it, watch the tape and don't post like out of context clips of like him jogging for a couple seconds off to the side of Camille dribbling into a double team on the sideline and say that this makes Shinya bad. Because I can find 10 other clips that show just how good Shinya is if we need to get into a posting clips war. That's what I'll say to those out there.
Yeah, I mean it's a great call, and you should, you know, pick something like a play that highlights exactly what you talked about in that 14th minute. Like that's a play that really makes Shinya look good. It's just that final third where he's got to put it in the back of the net, which he could do last year.
We talked in the beginning, Taylor, about pressure for Charlotte. Without a win, without a point in its first two, well, this start will just ramp that up. This is a good ball for Ashley West with the back heel to Shinyashiki. His shot is blocked now. Cappetti. Shot blocked.
Shinya is always willing to be in the right places. And you put him inside the box, he could get it into the back of the net. And I think right now you're looking at a goal drought for most people on the team. And if you go back to last season for Charlotte FC and you think about who scored most of the goals, it's Karol Swiderski, it's Danny Rios, who started that game against Atlanta last year, and it's Ben Bender, and it's Andre Shinyashiki. When you think about it that way, and you think about the other players on the squad, there's just really no goal contribution. So, you know, we can talk about the defensive issues. We can talk about why we don't have, you know, offense happening. I think I saw a lot of criticism as well called hit and hope crosses into the box. And I feel like that's a fair criticism. I do. Because the reason why Christian Lattanzio was playing Karol Swiderski on that right side, I think he's looking for that goal connection that happened in St. Louis, and that play was absolutely incredible, right? I don't think that's something that you're going to see every single week. Swiderski whip ball into the box, unless it's coming from a free kick, and I think that's if Karol Swiderski is playing as a second striker who is protected by a Enzo Copetti in that role, in that same bouncer role that we used to call Danny Rios. To me, that was a big part of what was missing on Saturday at the Keep. So does that mean you have to switch to a 4-4-2? Does that mean you have to switch to a different formation? I don't know, Danny Brams, because you know what Andre Shinyashiki does, and you're back. I was droning on. You're getting your dinner delivered?
Yeah, I had to full transparency here on the Charlotte Soccer Show. I had a dinner delivery coming, and the guy couldn't find the place, so I had to like run out and like try to like directive. And now he's like parking and bringing the food up, but I had to rush back here, so I'm gonna have to get up again in a second. But yeah. Well,
good, because I'm not finished my thought. I was
keep going. Yeah, I want to hear it. 4-4-2. I heard 4-4-2, and I was like, yes, please, yes. 4-4-2.
So when you look at goals per game, it's Swiderski, it's Rios, it's Shinyashiki, it's Bender, it's Fuchs, and then it's Reyna. Right? There's nobody in that side. There's nobody in that side on Saturday, except for Karol Swiderski and Andre Shinyashiki that knows how to put balls into the back of the net. And that's why Shinyashiki's on the pitch. And it's, again, Christian Lattanzio failing everyone there. I think, remember when we used to complain about Christian Lattanzio playing Andre Shinyashiki at the striker position? Remember that? And now all of a sudden, like, he's at the 10, and that's where we expect him to be. That was my third choice. I'd rather have Andre Shinyashiki on that right wing than Karol Swiderski, and Karol playing in that 10 role behind Enzo Cappetti, and a left wing out there on the left. It's not Jóźwiak for me. I think you should potentially consider switching that left wing position as well. There's nothing in the final third there. I heard a lot of criticism about József being called the worst designated player in Major League Soccer. You know, at the moment, is he that? Eventually, Danny, eventually, Camille has to score goals. And if he's not scoring goals, you have to give somebody else a real run at a chance to score goals. The József goals are nowhere to be found. He plays left wing. I was talking so long, now I can't hear you, Danny.
Oh, I want to give one slight edit to what you just said, which was you said Kamil József needs to score goals, and I said he needs to score goal. He's sitting on a big fat 0 right now. So yeah, sorry about the slight delay there. My fault.
It's all right.
Thanks for carrying us. What you just did right there, that's called carrying us for a little monologue stretch, which I much appreciate.
Yeah, no problem. I'm happy to do it because there's clearly a lot of things to talk about when it comes to Charlotte FC. So there's a couple things I want to do before we get out of here. First thing I want to ask you what you're having for dinner tonight.
Shake Shack.
Oh, let's go.
I'm a Shake Shack guy. What can I say? You know, I like a burger. Anyone who's seen me knows I like a burger. I
tell you what, if you're a business owner, if you own a restaurant, that's not a bad place to advertise the Sunday night Charlotte Soccer Show.
Right. Yeah, I don't want to give them too much free advertising, but yeah,
that'd be nice to partner up with a burger company. Which, by the way,
how about Bang Bang? If we go local, give me a Bang Bang burger, please.
That being said, the burgers that Volare made,
kidding me,
on Burgers and Bourbon Night, better than right. I don't think that Shake Shack is gonna
nothing
compete with those burgers.
Yeah, I can still taste the real, just the liquid smoke in the meat that he just brought out for sure. But yeah, the caption here I want to throw up on József was that stats do lie. You can find plenty of stats that'll tell you that József's doing a good job, but he has no goals. He kicked the ball out of bounds on one of our promising attacks. He dribbles into double teams and pins himself up against the sideline. Brandt in the first goal that Araujo did the slide tackle in and slid it to Almada, and then Almada kicked it. I think 5 guys collapsed on Almada, and then Wiley was left completely wide open because Byrne was still standing in midfield. All that was started by a really lame, bad pass from Bronico, but he's out of position at left back. But as bad as the pass was, József is the guy who was lazy and going to retrieve it and let Araujo slide in there and get the turnover. So, everyone bears a little bit of fault. I think mostly it was Byrne's fault, but Bronico was at fault as well. József had some fault for sure. And you want to get into the penalty. Think about that penalty moment where we thought we had a PK, in the first, it was in the 27th minute, I think, if I'm not mistaken, and it was awarded to us, and then VAR took it away. And the reason being was because Brooks Lennon was horrible and played he basically did a fucking back that ass up into Camille and didn't even try to make a play on the ball, just turned around and boxed out as if he played for the Atlanta Hawks or something like that, and knocked Camille over. But the problem was, the reason that penalty was overturned on VAR is because Camille completely whiffed a wide open volley that fell to him, and he threw his whole, he launched himself off of both feet, like you said, we were looking at it earlier. He threw so much effort into this right-footed kick that his left foot came off the ground too, and he's up in the air and completely whiffed the ball and just made a clown out of himself. And it's if you make any type of contact on that ball and stand up strong through the shot, and Lennon does what he did, that's 100% a penalty every single time. But when you jump up in the air, whiff the shot, and then kind of fall down as the guy commits a foul on you, the ref's going to take it away, and that's what happened. So it was unfortunate. I think Taylor Twellman again said it should have been called a penalty and it should have been overturned. The right decision was made both times, and probably that's the case. It just goes to speak that Camille, man, I don't know. I know he's got the stands out there. I don't want to start a war with the stands. We got a lot of tifos that are Camille fans, including the aforementioned Volare. Our boy Matt Barbie's been out there fighting all the battles, and I get it, guys. I get that you like him, but man, he is just not a DP at all. And he really is like a squad player, like role player. Like he's the guy you bring in when you like need some grit. He's almost like he would have thrived in like MLS in like 1999, you know, when it was just like all like pure grit and things like that. So that's my take. I'm sorry to the Camille stands. I love you. It's not a personal battle, but like, don't shit on Shinyashiki, who's like up there, like doing all kinds of amazing, like pressing and like getting really aggressive, and then like try to sell me Kamil as the answer. That's all I'm going to say.
You're really hating on the Derby players. Derby County?
Yeah. Well, yeah, Burn's horrible. Burn. Listen, Burn gave a midweek press conference and he said stuff like, "Oh, yeah, no one's harder on. I'm my own harshest critic, and you know, I'm not happy with my performances, or I'm not thrilled with my performances, but I am content because I think I've done okay. I could do better." And it's like, no, bro, you could do way better. Like, it's getting out of hand with like how much this guy is like not contributing anything and really taking stuff off the table. You can either bring stuff to the table, you can leave the table as it is, or you can actively be removing things from the table. I think that's the old Bill Simmons bit. And Burns ripping. Burns like just picking up the tablecloth and throwing it out the window at this point. I'm sorry. Like, I got to call it like I see it, right? Like, I'm not here to like bag all of our players, but like, there's reasons why we're 0-3, and one of them is just absolute lack of anything from the fullback in defense or offense, both sides.
Which leads me to my final question of the evening, which is
at 1:46 p.m. on March 11th, 2023, the Charlotte Soccer Show Twitter account went all caps.
I went all caps, and I hate to do it. You hate to go all caps. You really do. And the question was, for those listening on their favorite podcast platform, how the fuck is Atlanta making the first substitution in this match?
Yet again, all 3 games, right? The opponent has subbed before Latanzio. Like, we thought we'd see halftime subs, but no dice.
I don't get it. And if something's not working, you got to change. And for some reason, Christian Lattanzio is sticking with his guys late into the match, and that's really tough. Let's think about this substitution pattern, right? It's a let's see here. First substitution is made in the 59th minute by Atlanta, and you're absolutely
3-0 at the time.
You're shocked.
And they're changing it up. Yeah.
You're shocked. They're changing it up for the final 30 minutes because they're just, hey, okay, let's make a change. Let's get somebody on. You know, Barry's not having a good game at the top, so let's switch him out and give another striker a chance. Or and we wait 10 minutes. Charlotte FC waits almost 10 minutes, 8 and 9 minutes to get on Kerwin Vargas, who people called for, and Harrison Offal to get Nathan Byrne out for Shinyashiki, and that Shinyashiki Vargas substitution. Think about this, right? That's not like for like based on positioning. So,
no, right. They moved Carroll more central at that point. Carroll went back to the inside after that sub.
So at least at that point, at the 67th minute, Christian Lattanzio was saying, okay, we got to switch things up. I got to move Carroll back outside. But once again, you get it wrong to start. And and it's fine. These first 3 games, there's a lot of conversation about the club. There's a lot of conversation about David Tepper, Zoran Kraneta. There's a lot of conversation about everybody involved. It's a swirling wind of negativity for sure surrounding the club. So I get it, and I think that's a good place to leave it. Right? You got to sometimes realize, Danny Brams, what type of mindset, what type of attitude is happening at the club, and right now it's not good. Right now it's not good at all. And
it's negative. It's certainly negative. If
you know what's positive, what's a very positive thing is that Ted Lasso is back on Wednesday.
Always something to look forward to with your Apple TV Plus subscription. By the way, let me just throw out real quick. Apple TV Plus, you got a big issue on your hand. I got to throw it out there. The complaints started early in this cast, and they've continued all the way through. So I might as well just get them all in at this point. With the game being early, and admittedly I did go out and party like a madman for a while. uptown before I got myself home. I got home a little after 7, and I'm like, okay, I've had a few pops, but you know, I'm having a good time. Let's turn on MLS 360 on Apple TV Plus. You know, the advantage of Charlotte playing at noon is that I get to watch all the other MLS games, you know, at least keep an eye on them. And even though I was exhausted, and I did eventually fall asleep, not shortly after, but I turn on MLS 360. First off, it's a wraparound show, needs a lot of work. That's all I'm going to say. It's nothing to do with the people on the show, the studio crew and talent or whatever is fine. But the screen, they're wasting about like 25% of the screen by like on their 4 box with like just having way too wide of margins. And then the real travesty, that I couldn't believe was that there's commercial breaks. There's like all kinds of commercial breaks in the wraparound MLS 360 show. Like first off, it's a subscription service we already paid for. Second off, there's live soccer happening. Like these games are not taking a break. Like it's soccer. You don't take commercial breaks in soccer. I couldn't believe it. I was like, my jaw was on the floor, and I couldn't. I was completely shocked. And I get like if you go to an individual game, basically the MLS 360 show is worthless, is what I'm trying to say. Like if you want to like be your own Scott Hansen and like whip around and do your own whip around, jump from game to game, you can do that, but you're really not you have to like manually do it because there's no commercials on the individual games. Thank fuck. But like I mean, like I was just absolutely blown away. What do you think of commercials on the MLS 360?
I heard you mention that, and I checked it out, and I didn't like think it was a travesty, only because it was very clear that it was a studio show, right? There was 2 hosts, and they were making it almost like a talk show with soccer mixed in
the background.
In the background, right? Yeah. Where they were having conversations, and they could say, "Hey, let's go out to this match for a little while and talk about it." It was a talk show, which to me, it was an interesting experiment on how to watch a bunch of games without knowing if I wanted to watch one. But the commercial breaks, it's an egregious money grab from Apple,
right? On a subscription service we already paid for.
Yeah, well,
it's insane. I would be.
It's one thing if they did commercials like at halftime and post match.
Yeah, like 3 commercial breaks throughout the 4-hour show, I could understand.
Or have a presenting sponsor.
Yeah, a break every 5 minutes. I was absolutely blown away. Just could not believe it.
And you could just talk or toss to one game. It's a really difficult. My honest thought was it's a really difficult production, and I'm impressed that they're even trying to have 4 people watch a bunch of soccer games with 2 hosts and make it like a talk show. That's not the easiest thing in the world to do. What type of audience is there out there for that? It's a very interesting. It's the first time that I have had an MLS Saturday night experience on Apple at home, watching something like that. Right. So hear me out on this. Compared to what we used to have, right, which was not that, it was better. Right. Like I felt like it was Saturday night MLS, and this was a new part of American sports culture, right? Where all of these Saturdays are going to have a full slate of MLS matches Saturday night on MLS with the studio crew. So you can kind of get to know these personalities and want to watch games with them. I thought it was it's interesting, but it's also very overproduced in a way that I think lends itself to commercial breaks. There's a lot of money spent on that production, Danny, right? We're not taking commercial breaks on this show because it doesn't cost anything.
Just Shake Shack breaks, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. True. We do, and beer breaks and things like that. But for now, our production cost is not high. Apple's production cost is high. They're spending cash on this for sure.
Sasha Kljestan does not come cheap.
No, it's not even in talent. It's not even in talent, but it is. But it is. It's both, right? The talent that they're paying for and the rights, the initial rights fee package just coming off. It's a fresh buy, right? It feels like it's a big spend on that. Sure. So you're putting the production cost on top of that, adding the talent, adding the travel, and all of a sudden you've got to have a top-notch product or it falls flat. I think there's a lot of people that would look at Apple's coverage and be critical of it, and I do agree with you. Playing commercials during soccer is a step in a direction. I can just hear some purists out there saying no way, no how. But me. I would just encourage you to think about that show in a different way, right? It's like it's a studio show, personality show where you're just hanging on a Saturday night. It's on, and you're not watching the games intently, so you really don't care if there's a commercial break, right? Like,
I guess that's not for me. Give me the CBS Colossal show during Champions League, I guess. But I do see what you're saying. I think that's, I don't know.
It wasn't horrible for me, but I understand why you would say that. Like, I do think that if there's any commercial breaks, like during the action, if they were to do like what golf does with playing through, that might be better. That might be a better idea. When they go to commercial, they just lay out and half the screen goes to a commercial partner and it plays the sound and the soccer is still on. That's how golf does it.
Sure. That's great. Here's one sort of the nail in the coffin on this whole thing is that it would be an ad break, and it was a short ad break, but it was like a 90-second ad break, 2 or 3 ads. But one of the ads would always be for MLS Season Pass. And it's like, I can't be watching the show I'm watching if I don't already have MLS Season Pass. You don't need to advertise MLS Season Pass to me. I'm already a subscriber.
That's fair.
So it's like, come on, y'all.
That's fair. I'm probably on the wrong side of this argument, or this debate, I should say. But it doesn't really matter to me either way. I'll say this: there better not be a commercial during the watch party on Saturday night at Elizabeth Parlor Room. I'm looking forward to it. We're going to be there on Thursday. We're going to do a show there previewing that match. We're going to do a show there previewing the Independents and their opening match on Saturday against the Richmond Kickers. That'll be fun. If you think that Charlotte FC is maybe too expensive, if you think it's a pain in the ass to get to the stadium, if you don't feel like the product on the field is very good right now, you can have a nice, easy soccer night out with a great view of Uptown too. And a quick walk to Elizabeth Parlor Room on Saturday night. That's why we wanted to have this party. That first watch party that we had was kind of like a test run.
It was so fun. I hope we have as much fun on the next Saturday for sure.
Yeah, it's going to be tough to recreate that energy and that buzz for that first match in St. Louis. But Orlando's going to be a good atmosphere on Saturday. Remember,
and is it finally? Will you agree with it? I'll let you wait till Thursday, but I want to know from you at some point if it's a must win at this point.
No, it's not.
Still not a must win. No. We were last year. We were the same spot, 0-3, 1 goal scored. And we made a run that would have got us into a playoff position, I think now, or at least in contention for that 9th spot, which wasn't there last year, which is this year. Can I do one thing before we get out of here? Can I bring up one more topic?
Okay.
And one of the cool things you're like the StreamYard guru here. You've like figured out a way to incorporate video clips. You got the countdown going. Like our production level is like getting higher and higher every episode. I got a video clip that I just uploaded that I want to play for you.
Okay.
It goes on for 30 more seconds, but there you go. You heard me and my very off-key, intoxicated, trying to sing Volare with a handful of folks in the crowd. Volare, we got to call it 0 for 2 so far in the attempts to like make this a tradition that Charlotte FC fans are doing. I really love the song. I really love the idea of trying to sing a song that honors Anton Walks. But as you could see and hear in that video clip that we just played, like not everyone's into it. And there are people after the game that were just like decided that they would rather just chant for their favorite players that had just played and do like, sort of like, some post-game celebrations that were not Volare. And the folks who were trying to sing it, God more power to them. But it brings up the question, can you force a tradition like this? Like, I know like supporters groups tried to like come together. There was a news story about it. Carol Walton wrote about it, and everyone was like like Volare is our new thing. We're going to do it. And we were on board. We sang it at the Elizabeth Parlor Room into these microphones at an episode. I'm for Volare, but I'm not for like forced traditions. And if people aren't buying in, then we need to like get on the same page one way or another. At least it played in the stadium. Where are you at with our culture in terms of like trying to like be united in this crisis time for the club?
The key word that you came up with is force, right? You can't force a tradition. It's something that has to happen over time. And that's the theme of maybe tonight's show, is that time is everything. Remember, we talked about time healing all wounds, right? Where all of a sudden now time can come up with traditions as well. So you got to use time to your advantage. And right now, you can't just very quickly say, "Oh, singing Volare." What is it? Is the tradition after the match? You can't just say that and it happened overnight. It has to pick up over time. So I respect you trying to sing it. I don't know. I don't want to make too much of a thing, but I like the song. I like it too. You can play it whenever you'd like.
Yeah, I'm going to sing it. I'm going to sing it next game for sure.
So we'll keep trying it. And that next game is Saturday. What is it? 2 weeks from now? The next game is the next home.
The 25th, I believe, right? Which is also the same weekend that Crown Legacy opens their season on the Sunday, the 26th. Charlotte plays at home against Red Bulls, the hated New York Red Bulls, a team that we got in a lot of beef with last year. If we want to talk about rivalries, yeah, we got the geographical rivalry with Atlanta, and I do feel that. But when it comes to teams that I learned to hate last year, Red Bulls would be very close to the top of the list.
I'm glad that the next home game isn't for a couple weeks, because I think everybody just needs a break from one another right now.
Yeah.
But sure. Don't take a break from this show. You can find us anywhere.
No, we'll be here. Yeah. Come to the watch party still, but I don't know if we advertised this well enough, but basically, and again, we're kind of flying by the seat of our pants here on this thing, but we sort of like decide things in real time sometimes, just because we go with the flow. But it basically boiled down to free Modelo's on us, right? Like there's a drink special of cheap Modelo's at Elizabeth Parlor Room on Saturday nights, and we decided, hey, we'll buy anybody that wants a Modelo, put it on our tab, and we'll do that again on this Saturday. So come down and drink some Modelo's with us.
It's fun. It's a great party. You know, get the Modelo's popping, and you get all the games on all the TV. You get the game on all the TVs.
It's great. The big quad screen and everything's awesome.
Right.
People are loving that. So
I think, like, from a watch party point of view, and that's the emphasis is on watch. Right, and that's the point. We go there to watch the match.
It felt like being in the supporter section. Like we were like there was yelling and screaming, and like people could like be themselves and like really throw themselves into the watch. And like thankfully there were no beer showers, but like even when we scored, but like I felt very comfortable at the party, like screaming and yelling. It was not a sit on your hands kind of party whatsoever.
No, it wasn't. The one thing I do feel bad about, and some tremendous friends of the show came up and they were like, I didn't realize there wasn't food here at the bar, but it's a bar. It's a bar. That's what it is. Right. It's a watch party at a bar, but there's a ton of food options around in that neighborhood. So just check it out before.
And Matt's working on getting a food truck, and he is upping they will level up the kitchen at some point for sure.
Nice. That's right. And on Thursday, maybe we can get him to make one of his special cocktails for us. I told him that we'd love to have him on the show to do a guest spot and to talk about like his award-winning gin cocktail, right? Is that what it was? The gin cocktail?
Yeah. Yep. The Navy Strength.
The Navy Strength gin. That's right. So maybe I'll have that on Thursday night. I've been out of the game. I haven't had a drink on the show just because I've been feeling under the weather. The combine cold got me.
And the wedding. Brutal.
Yeah. So, but was feeling better though this weekend and was able to get to the wedding. But excited to get back into the Keep. Now, part of me wishes that I was going down to Orlando this weekend for the match. Not going to lie. You were there last year, Danny.
I was. Yeah, I was. And they got a nice little stadium down there. But that was one of our worst. That was a really horrible game. We were really bad. That was that was the game where MAR finally just like had enough with TT and benched him at halftime. How about that? A halftime sub when you're underperforming at half. Who would have thought? But we did try to fight back in that one late, the last 15 minutes. Hopefully we look a lot better this year.
Speaking of away days, right? We have our watch parties coming, but I've been thinking about this a lot, and it's something that we didn't do at the end of last year. We did in the beginning is go on the road to some away days, right? And just so you know, I'm eyeing DC United Saturday, April 29th. Drive up to DC could be a possibility, and then there's 2 weeks later another drive potentially down to Atlanta United. So there's some away days coming up in the end of April, early May that are super drivable for Charlotte FC fans. So, you know, circle those dates on your calendar, see what's going on, and maybe we could all, you know, some tremendous friends of the show can make the trip up, and we can do a pre-party at that brewery in DC, right near the stadium. Yeah. We can have
exactly
a Charlotte,
what you're talking about. Yep.
Charlotte Soccer Show pre-party there. That would be sweet.
Bring the banner
down to Atlanta. Yeah, bring the banner. We can go down to Atlanta, and man, it's not. DC is a better trip than Atlanta.
Yes,
in my opinion.
I totally agree. Totally agree.
And then later on in the season, there's Philadelphia on Wednesday, May 31st. I'm planning to be there for that match as well. So we're gonna get 3 away days coming here at Orlando, Toronto, and Real Salt Lake this year. Those next 3, those are tough. But after that, we're looking at 3 out of 4. If the dates work.
Could be a wild spring. So far, I'm having a lot of fun at the watch parties. But yeah, I'd like to take the show on the road as well. So
yeah, but we can do both. You know, we'll do both. We'll do both this season. So results don't matter, right? That's what support is. This team doesn't win a game until DC. I'm going for the pre-party. I'm going for the atmosphere. I'm going for the soccer. I'm going to have a good time. But this team will win a game. This team will get some points.
We got too much talent. We just got to figure it out on the coaching side. I look forward to talking through some potential changes to the starting lineup with you on Thursday for sure.
Big show coming up later this week. It's been fun hanging out with you, Danny Brams, on Sunday night. People watching this on Sunday night, good for you. Devouring the content quickly. Thanks for getting an hour through the show this far along on a Sunday night. That's a real tremendous friend of the show. Big and time. If you're listening to this on Monday morning on the way into work, if you are listening on the way home from work, anytime during the week, we're happy to be part of your day. Do us a favor, rate us, review us, let people know about the show. If you know Charlotte FC fans, let them know about the show. Send them a link. Say, hey, subscribe to the feed and check out some of these episodes. And that really helps us. That really helps us on the back end. We appreciate that. So until next time, as always, Danny Brams.
For the crown, baby.